The story of the American presidency begins in a dimly lit hall where the smell of ink and parchment mixes with the tension of a nation trying to define itself. George Washington, tall and solemn, stands at the center of this atmosphere. He is not just a commander anymore, he is the first president of a country unsure of what a president should even be. As he signs the earliest documents of his administration, he realizes he is shaping traditions that will outlive him by centuries. Every word he speaks, every decision he makes, sets a precedent. Outside, horses' hooves echo on the dirt roads while riders deliver messages between states still healing from the Revolutionary War. Farmers watch him pass and wonder if this new government will protect their future or complicate it. Washington remains the calm example of leadership, guiding a fragile nation toward unity. When Washington steps down, John Adams enters the presidency with storms on every side. The young republic faces growing tension with France, and newspaper editors unleash fierce criticism against him. Adams reads their attacks under the flicker of candlelight yet refuses to silence them, believing that a nation built on liberty must endure the noise of disagreement. His administration struggles through the threat of war, political division, and diplomatic strain, but Adams holds fast to the belief that America must remain independent both in its decisions and its ideals. Next comes Thomas Jefferson, who walks the wooden floors of his study at Monticello late into the night. His desk is cluttered with books on philosophy, agriculture, and exploration. He dreams of a republic rooted in education and opportunity. With a single bold stroke, the Louisiana Purchase, he doubles the size of the United States, opening the door to the vast unknown West. The Lewis and Clark expedition becomes a symbol of American curiosity as they push through forests, rivers, and mountains, sending back sketches of landscapes no president before Jefferson had ever seen. James Madison follows, known as the father of the Constitution, but even he cannot escape crisis. Under his leadership, the United States faces the War of 1812. The British march into Washington, and flames engulf the Capitol and the White House. The night sky glows red as citizens flee and soldiers scramble to defend what they can. Madison, exhausted yet unwavering, refuses to give in. The war drags on, battles rage across land and sea, but the nation survives. With the signing of peace, Americans begin to see themselves not just as former colonies but as a nation capable of enduring hardship. By the time Madison leaves office, the United States has weathered uncertainty, conflict, and rapid growth. Washington, Adams, Jefferson, and Madison, four very different men, guided America through its most delicate years. Their choices, struggles, and sacrifices form the earliest chapters of a timeline that will continue to shape the nation for generations. The nation enters a new phase of confidence and growth as James Monroe takes office. Crowds gather under warm sunlight to celebrate what people begin calling the era of good feelings. Though the country feels united, Monroe knows peace is fragile. He meets with advisors in quiet rooms lit by lanterns, discussing threats from European powers still eager to influence the Western Hemisphere. With careful thought, he formulates the Monroe Doctrine, a message to the world stating that the Americas are no longer open for colonization. His words reshape foreign policy and give the nation a new sense of independence, not just politically, but globally. Even as celebrations fill the streets, Monroe remains aware that beneath the harmony, the issue of slavery is growing into a danger that none can ignore for long. John Quincy Adams follows him, brilliant and ambitious but deeply misunderstood. His presidency is marked by frustration rather than applause. He walks through the marble halls of government with ideas ahead of his time: national universities, astronomical observatories, modern roads, and a stronger federal role in supporting science and learning. Yet Congress resists him at every turn, political rivals undermine him, and newspapers mock him. Late at night, he sits alone at his desk, writing in his diary, reflecting on how the nation is not yet ready for the future he envisions. Though his presidency falters, his integrity remains untouched, and history would one day recognize his remarkable mind. Then Andrew Jackson arrives like a storm sweeping through Washington. To many Americans, he is the hero of the common man. Crowds cheer him as he takes office, but others fear his fiery temper and bold style. Jackson quickly dismantles what he sees as elitist institutions, including the National Bank. He holds firm against those who challenge him, believing strongly that the president, as the direct representative of the people, should lead boldly. But his decisions toward Native Americans leave a deep wound in history. Forced removals begin, leading to the sorrowful journey known as the Trail of Tears, where thousands suffer and die on the long march westward. Jackson's legacy becomes a mixture of strength and tragedy, a reflection of a nation expanding rapidly but often without compassion. Martin Van Buren is left to deal with the economic collapse triggered by policies he did not create. The Panic of 1837 sweeps across the country like a cold wind. Banks close, businesses fail, and families lose their homes. Van Buren studies charts and letters describing the crisis, knowing he may not escape blame, yet he remains calm and disciplined. After him, the presidency becomes unstable. William Henry Harrison delivers a long inaugural speech in freezing weather, only to fall ill and die a month later, leaving John Tyler, never fully accepted by his own party, to struggle against a Congress that questions his authority. The country eventually looks to James K. Polk, a man of determination and clarity. He enters office with a list of goals and pursues each one relentlessly. The nation expands westward through negotiations, annexations, and war, stretching from the Atlantic to the Pacific. By the end of his single term, the map of the United States has transformed dramatically. Polk leaves Washington quietly, having achieved more in 4 years than many presidents do in 8, his footsteps echoing in the halls as a reminder of how swiftly a determined leader can reshape a nation's destiny. The years following Polk bring a new wave of uncertainty as the nation continues growing, but its divisions deepen. Zachary Taylor, a respected war hero with little political experience, enters the presidency hoping to calm tensions. He listens quietly as advisors argue over whether new territories should permit slavery. Though he rarely speaks in long speeches, Taylor's firm stance against the expansion of slavery surprises many in his own party. His sudden death only 16 months later leaves the country shocked and directionless. Millard Fillmore steps into office, immediately thrust into the heart of one of the nation's most painful debates. He signs the Compromise of 1850, believing it will preserve peace, but it becomes a temporary patch on a wound that continues to bleed beneath the surface. As Franklin Pierce rises to power, he watches the political landscape darken. Determined yet often overshadowed by stronger personalities in his party, Pierce signs the Kansas-Nebraska Act, believing it will ease regional conflicts. Instead, it unleashes, Bleeding Kansas, a violent struggle between pro-slavery and anti-slavery settlers. Towns are burned, families flee, and armed militias clash in fields and on dusty roads. Pierce receives reports late into the night describing brutality and chaos, realizing too late that the act has worsened division rather than resolved it. By the time he leaves office, the nation stands closer than ever to collapse. James Buchanan follows him, hopeful and anxious. He tries to maintain peace by avoiding confrontation, but the country is already spiraling. States threaten secession, and newspapers scream warnings of an approaching storm. Buchanan believes the Constitution prevents him from acting decisively, and his hesitation allows tensions to grow unchecked. Cabinet members argue, Congress erupts in conflict, and the American public loses confidence that compromise is still possible. By the time Buchanan's presidency ends, several states have already broken away, and the Civil War is days from erupting. Then Abraham Lincoln steps into the most dangerous presidency in American history. He enters his dimly lit office with steady eyes and a heavy heart, reading telegrams filled with casualty numbers and battle updates. Cannons thunder across the land as the Civil War tears families, towns, and states apart. Lincoln studies maps spread across his desk, writes letters to grieving parents, and shapes speeches that continue to echo through history. With the Emancipation Proclamation, he shifts the war's purpose, giving moral force to the struggle. But the stress weighs heavily on him. In many late-night moments, he sits alone, shoulders slumped, carrying the burden of a divided nation. His assassination becomes one of the darkest chapters in American memory, leaving the country without the leader who had guided it through its greatest crisis. Andrew Johnson attempts to pick up the pieces but battles continuously with Congress over plans for Reconstruction. His presidency becomes defined by conflict, vetoes, and the first impeachment trial in American history. Ulysses S. Grant then arrives, bringing strong leadership and a promise to protect the rights of formerly enslaved people. He fights rising violence in the South, crushes the Ku Klux Klan's early resurgence, and tries to stabilize the nation, though scandals within his administration overshadow his accomplishments. Rutherford B. Hayes negotiates a compromise that ends Reconstruction, pulling federal troops from the South and allowing local control, decisions that will shape racial inequality for generations. James Garfield enters office with hope for reform but is struck down by an assassin's bullet only months later. Chester A. Arthur surprisingly rises to the moment, transforming from a political insider into a reformer who strengthens civil service laws. Finally, Grover Cleveland steps into the White House as a symbol of honesty in an era of political corruption. He vetoes wasteful spending, challenges powerful special interests, and insists on fairness even when decisions make him unpopular. Working late into the night, he signs documents meant to restore integrity to government, ending this early era of the presidency with a firmness and dignity that earns lasting respect.